Good morning, evening, afternoon, everyone. I am Dorm. This is Dorm Streams, and welcome back to the Games of the Decade list. Today, we're taking a look at games 40 through 31, and I'm really excited now. We're starting to get... I know that like top 50 is normally what people do. This is top 100. 40 is like when every one of these games is just straight up bangers. Like it's gonna differ for every person, obviously. You know how you think of these games, or if you think they deserve to be on this list. But for me, these are all like really heavy hitters, the ones that I spent the longest time on deciding which one was better than the other. I spent most of my time in this 40 section. Also, just before we get into it, this video is going to be longer than the other ones. I imagine that's going to trend this way. The last one I tried to get through in a good amount of time, just throughout thinking about what I'm going to talk about with each of these games. I just know it's going to be a longer video, so strap in if that's something you like. If not, I totally get it. Feel free to scrub through to see what games got what place, but I'm going to start gushing in this part of the list, and that's probably going to continue for the rest of the series. Just want to let you know. So without further ado, let's get started. Number 40. Number 40, Rocket League. Imagine a sports game, but instead of playing as humans, you play as small cars, almost like Hot Wheels, who can fly and jump and have jet turbo and like actual jets coming out of the exhaust. And it's basically soccer, but with cars, and you have the premise of Rocket League. One of the more surprising games to do as well as it did, in my opinion. Like I'm still shocked at how, pleasantly so, how large the Rocket League community is. And I think that speaks to the quality of this game. I love sports games. I always have. We've not seen too many glimpses of sports games on this list, but we will see more. But Rocket League for me is the ultimate non-sports fan sports game. Similar to Pyre, way back in the early part of this series, Rocket League is just as sporty, but without the actual sports influence. I know some people are put off by like basketball or football, or you know, sort of which I think are the two main franchises of sports video games. The great thing about Rocket League is that you don't have any of that, because Rocket League is its own sport, and therefore it turns great into an esport just because it's literally sports but as a video game. But also it's just so fun to pick up and play, like all of those other sports games. Like I don't even watch soccer, but FIFA's fun to pick up and play for a little while. This has that same appeal, but for me even more so, simply because Rocket League is just pure fun. It's one of those like win for the good guys kinds of things too. The team at Psyonix seems to be really excellent. Hearing about the development of that game and hearing how surprised they were at how special it was, and just the overall joy and partnerships they got to work with. I know Jeremy Dunham, who used to be part of IGN and Podcast Beyond, a podcast that heavily influenced me. He works with, I believe he works with Psyonix now, and he's a huge wrestling fan. And as a wrestling fan, it was really cool to see Rocket League sponsoring wrestling events. Like the SummerSlam is brought to you by Rocket League. Like it was one of those things. And I'm very happy for the success of this game. Rocket League is just pure fun to play. It's one of those games I always go back to. I've played Rocket League once a month for probably the past 3 or 4 years whenever it came out. This game was a free PlayStation Plus game whenever it came out. I know my two buddies and I, who I play a lot of my games with, we platinumed Rocket League just because it was the most fun thing. The platinum's fun. It takes a little time, but is super doable and super awesome. And yeah, cannot recommend Rocket League enough. I know I finished a lot of these by saying cannot recommend X enough, but seriously, it works with kids. It's on Switch now, which I imagine it plays great on Switch. It's just such a fun pick up and play game. Number 39, Journey. Journey may be the most, not to describe superlatives to, or not to ascribe superlatives to every one of these games, but Journey may be the most you had to have been there game on this list. Journey came out in 2012, and Journey's a very prescient game for me because it kind of marks when I sort of made the jump from the gamer who played like the thing he saw the ad for while watching sports, or that word of mouth game, to, oh, I'm reading games reviews on IGN and Kotaku and Games Radar and places like that, GameSpot, and I'm listening to gaming podcasts. This is what have been when I first got into Podcast Beyond. And Journey is kind of the sum of that for me, because without reading games media, I am almost certain I wouldn't have known what Journey was, let alone bought it and played it and loved it. So if you don't know what Journey is, it is a it's an exploration game with no dialogue, and it just is a story game. It's a very small experience. It's about 2 to 3 hours if memory serves. And you play through the game. There's some light puzzles. There are exploration moments. The music's beautiful. The visuals are gorgeous. And you just get this sense of comfort with the game, I guess. Like it's almost like watching a movie you've seen 1,000 times, even though it's your first time playing it. I've only played Journey the one time. It's remastered now on PS4. It originally came out on PS3. And despite having only played it once, I still feel very cozy and comforted and like relaxed when I talk about it. It's not a game that's probably going to stress you out. There are a couple moments that are puzzly, I'm sure, but overall, it's not a stressful game. There is a hook to it that I am not going to go into detail of, but if you know the hook, or if you know kind of the premise after you've played it, you'll know what I'm talking about. That blew my mind. It is the overall encapsulation for me, and maybe I have this higher on my list than a lot of people would, because to me this game is very special, not only because the game is special, but also the moment in time. This was one of the first games I ever played like this in my lifetime. This was before I played like games like Gone Home or Edith Finch or any of those like narrative exploration games. This was the first one for me, and not only did that set me on a path of games that I absolutely love, but also it really emphasized how much I love gaming and all the options it could give me, not just shooters or story-driven games or sports games or whatever, but just gaming as a whole. And for that, it holds a really special place in my heart. Also, the game's fantastic. I'm not trying to say that it's only on this list because of my memories attached to it, but those things are intertwined, as I said at the beginning of this list, and it's one of the most majestic, I guess, experiences that I can think of. I know that's a weird word to use, but it's isolating but comforting at the same time. It's a beautiful game, and you should definitely check it out if you haven't. Even just watching a trailer will give you the overall sense of the vibe of the game, and if that's something that you're into, you're definitely going to like the game, and I love it. Number 38, Florence. We've got another mobile game on this list. This time it's Florence, which is by a company called Mountains. And it is you're going to be surprised by this, it's a narrative game that is really easily playable. It's on Switch now as well. Just came out on Switch recently, or is about to come out on Switch. I think it just came out. And it's like every indie romance movie you've ever seen as a video game. This game, if it were a movie, would be on IFC every now and then. Zooey Deschanel would probably be in it. I'm not trying to just make it a 500 Days of Summer comparison, but it's like all of those kinds of movies. It's quirky, it's sweet, the visuals are gorgeous, the soundtrack is gorgeous. I've actually contemplated buying the vinyl for the soundtrack because it is available. And it's a very sweet experience. It's uplifting and heartbreaking at the same time. I should flip those. It's heartbreaking and uplifting at the same time. This game is the perfect glimpse into a relationship, right? This game is about two people being in a relationship, and it doesn't just cut off when they fall in love. You kind of ride through that story. And it may be a strange comparison here, but the movie Room with Brie Larson, not The Room with Tommy Wiseau. I always have to make that distinction. The movie Room with Brie Larson does an amazing job, if you've seen it, sort of following through with the character. There's a moment in the story you think would be the ending, but that comes like 45 minutes into the movie, and you're like, wait, this can't be all that it is. How are we going to keep going? That seems like the climax. And it does a wonderful job of giving you a second glimpse into that character and sort of giving you the second ending. This game is very similar to that. There's a point where you kind of think this story has come full circle, or at least has come to an end, and the game keeps going. And that's something that I really applaud it for, without getting too spoilery into it. But just seeing these two people come together, sort of playing both sides of it, but mainly the side of Florence, the eponymous character, who is the female lead in this game, playing as her, understanding her world, getting a view into her rooms and her house, and the gamification of it's very simple. It's like putting together little jigsaw puzzles or just almost like mini games to get you through the story. There are like actual gamification moments. It's not just exploring a place. It almost plays more like, I should have said this at the front, it plays more like a graphic novel or a comic book than it does just a straight up video game, because you're seeing these moving illustrated scenes that are absolutely beautiful. Again, the graphics are just, oh, they're so good. But you're seeing the story unfold through sort of these, what I could only describe as like animated comic panels. And the gamification there is simple and it works. But overall, it's just one of those, again, because it's a mobile game, it's rather short. It's like 2 hours, maybe not even that. I'm pretty sure I played it after work one day. When I think of this game, I think of playing it in my former office. And so I either played it on lunch or, after work, just like heard about the game, downloaded it, and just stayed in the office. And it's just so nice. It's such a nice game. And that's why it landed on this spot on the list. Number 37, Peggle 2. No, this is not a meme, although it's probably become one in my community. So on Twitch, twitch.tv/stormstreams, we just recently got to participate in a wonderful charity marathon relay event where we're raising money for No Kid Hungry. And each of the participants had an hour slot, and we were going to be on the front page. So when it got to my leg, they told me, you can play whatever game you want. I was like, what is my comfort game? What is a game that, if given the front page, I want to say like, yep, I'm putting my foot in the ground. This is the game that represents me. I picked Peggle 2. Not because Peggle 2 is like the most representative game of the streamer, of me, or of me as a gamer. Like, it's not one of my top 20 games of all time. But it's just the best. It's just so good. I grew up playing Peggle and all those PopCap games. Those were like hallmarks of my early PC gaming life, I guess. And Peggle 2 was like an awesome announcement. I know everybody memes the dude doing like the Peggle 2. I felt the same way when they announced it, and I am pining for Peggle 3. Please, EA, it can't be. I will freaking make the game. The engine already exists on next gen. Just give me the map maker. I'll make 100 maps. I'll do it just so that game exists. Like, I want Peggle 3 so bad. I want the trophy list for it. I want to go after getting a platinum. Peggle 2 is one of my favorite platinums I've ever gotten, because not only because I love Peggle. Also, I guess I should describe what Peggle is. Peggle is basically pachinko as a video game. So you have these little marbles or balls or whatever that you shoot out of a little shooter. And your goal is to get all of the orange pegs off the board. There are orange and blue pegs. There are a lot more blue pegs than orange. The orange pegs are randomized where they are on the map, but the pegs are always in the same place, like overall. And so the goal is to, with your 10 balls that you have starting out, you can get more by getting bonus, like getting a high score on one shot, or having it be caught in the free ball bucket. That's a real thing. You can get more than that, but your goal is to clear all the orange pegs off the board, and there are characters that give you upgrades similar to like any other character-driven puzzle game. It's a very simple game. Literally anybody can play it. Like a 4-year-old could probably play Peggle. But that platinum is one of my favorite platinums I've ever gotten, because I was in the dorm with my best friend, and we both were like obsessed with it, because sometimes I think you have to clear all of the pegs in 10 shots, not just the oranges, which is a pretty tricky platinum. There are other, or trophy rather. There are also different challenge trophies and just challenges in general in the game. So that makes it difficult. It's a pretty difficult platinum. It's not that hard. It's super doable, but it has a challenge element to it. And I just remember coming back from class and both of us just passing the controller back and forth and just taking shots at each level. And it was so fun. I love Peggle 2 because of that. I still love that game. I played through it on this YouTube channel for Dorm Plays in its entirety one time as like a State of the Union thing. I may try it again. It's just a special game to me, and I understand why people may not get it being on this list, but it had to be here, and this is where it ultimately fell. Number 36, Telling Lies. Telling Lies is a game from writer-director Sam Barlow, who is responsible for another game in this list that will be a little bit later on. And Telling Lies was also my game of the year from last year. So the concept of Telling Lies is that you're working for an agency looking through a hard drive of someone's video files. And that is all that you have. Your basic idea is to find out what happened, find out what you're reading, find out who this is about, etc. You're just finding out as much as you can. And the gameplay is really cool and something that's going to come back later in this list, because It's also a very similar gameplay style to another game Sam Barlow produced. With this game and with the later game, you have video clips, and the only way to find more video clips, you get started with like 1 or 2, is to search words said in that video clip. So I'll give you an example. So let's say you're watching a video clip and someone mentions the cabana. They're like, oh, I went down to the cabana today with Sam, and we just had a little, we had a coffee, whatever. And then they keep telling their story. They're just like little webcam clips almost. They're clips from like, obviously like FaceTime calls mostly and things like that. And so you just hear, oh, I went to the cabana with Sam. So then you could look up cabana and see the most recent, I believe, 5 instances that the word cabana was said. So you could take the name Sam and see how many times Sam was said. But the reason that it's the 5 is actually really important because, it doesn't want to show you every instance of like one of the characters in the game. There are 4 main characters. That's not a spoiler. That's literally given to you in the promotional material. And, you could just search that person's name and literally every time it said it and you have 30 clips. Instead, they limit that so that in order to get deeper into the story, you have to have more specific search terms. It's phenomenal. It's one of my favorite formats of gaming I've ever played. And these are all FMV. So they're actually, I know I hate to use the term real life actors because actors in video games are actors anyway, but it is real life film shot for the game. So the game part of it is literally just looking for the videos, searching through the UI, that kind of thing. And the actors in this are incredible. So the main cast is Logan Marshall Green, who is the protagonist. He's been in a ton of stuff. He was in The Invitation, which is a movie I absolutely adore. He was in Upgrade recently. He's been in a lot of stuff. There's Carrie Bichet, who was in Argo. I didn't know her coming in because I'd never seen Argo. She's fantastic in this. Angela Serafian, who, I don't know if I'm saying that name correctly, but I recognize from Westworld. She's a very unique looking person who I immediately was like, oh, I know her from Westworld. And the new love of my life, Alexandra Shipp, who freaking kills it in this game. She is so amazingly nuanced in this and just, she's wonderful in this. There are other characters, of course, but those are the main 4 the game revolves around. And their performances are stellar. It's some of the best performances I've ever seen in a video game. Of course, they're helped by a lack of mocap and literally just being able to emote, just being on actual camera. But the story is fascinating. It takes turns I did not expect. The format is riveting. If you like murder mystery kind of stuff, it's definitely that similar vibe. But even just seeing the interrelationships between these characters, how they all connect, because at the beginning they seem sort of distant from one another, and seeing all those paths kind of merge is awesome. And just, it's writing this thing. When I think about how someone would have to approach writing something like this, I literally just, my mind breaks a little bit. I'm just like, what? How would you do this to that? How do you connect those? How do you make sure I search for that word? And then how does this game pace out? I thought I spent about 8 hours one stream playing this game. I was like, okay, I know the game before was about 3-4 hours. I'm definitely going to do this in one stream. I probably should have broken it up into 2 in hindsight, but I was just so excited. I just wanted to keep playing. And I was like, okay, I've definitely seen most of these clips. When I finished the game, I had under 50% of the clips seen, and I'd spent 8 hours playing the game. It was incredible, and a game that I'm so excited to come back to. I think when this video comes out, it will drop next week, I believe. April 28th, I think is the date, on console, on Switch, Xbox, and PS4. So if you don't have a PC, if you're not into PC gaming, now's the time to pick that up. I'm absolutely going to pick it up on PlayStation again. Not only support that dev, but for all the good trophies. I saw this game has a platinum. It's already on PSN trophies. I'm so excited about it. Play Telling Lies. It's freaking awesome. Number 35, NBA 2K14. I'm laughing as I'm saying this because it seems ridiculous to put a basketball game this high on the list, or just an annualized sports game. But 2K14 was the first game that we got on next generation consoles this decade, or the first basketball game rather. And I remember being blown away visually by this game, like just being absolutely flabbergasted by how visually stunning this game was. Hi, it's me in the editing phases of this video. So I took a bathroom break after saying this sentence, and I came back and started on the next game, forgetting that I left off mid-sentence about 2K14. So it's a great basketball game. Basketball games are great. It's just really fun. I played a lot of it. It's the reason I'm a Bucks fan. Yeah, it's basketball. Okay, moving on. All right, bye. Number 34, Horizon Zero Dawn. All right, we're really starting to get into the heavy hitters now. Horizon, out the gate, is one of the most interesting worlds I've ever played in a video game. The concept is that you're in this weird... I don't really even know how to begin to describe it. It's like cybernetic, but prehistoric at the same time. So there are these sort of mechanical animals that roam the world. You don't really know where they came from or what even this is. You were just in this society that is like half technological, but half like almost like caveman era. It's so fascinating as a setting alone. So that's your first like building block for why this game's awesome. The characters are awesome. Aloy is one of my favorite protagonists from the last decade and possibly in games ever. Wonderfully acted, wonderfully animated, and just is a cool, easy to love protagonist who is an absolute badass. So that's building block 2. Building block 3 is the gameplay. It plays as well as any other open world game does, in my opinion, in regards to moment-to-moment gameplay. I think the overall maps and just areas of combat that you have to go through and puzzle areas are extremely well done. In sort of regards to other open world games, Skyrim has been mentioned earlier on this list. The Witcher 3 was mentioned earlier on this list as well. You know, sometimes the one knock for me is the actual moment-to-moment gameplay. Witcher 3, like I said in my little mini review of that, the combat was what really took me away from it. And the combat in this is so fun, and the upgrades that you build through with all of your different weapons and tech and just overall abilities are fantastic. You really feel like you are becoming almost this superhero-like character by the end of it. Not that you're Superman and unbeatable, but you have all of these things at your disposal. You almost have like a utility belt, to use a Batman phrase, and it's just wonderful gameplay. The visuals are also stunning. So stunning, in fact, that when Hideo Kojima came over to Sony, he used the Horizon engine to make Death Stranding. So if you like the way Death Stranding looked, that was built, I believe, on the Horizon Zero Dawn engine. And Horizon is just a gorgeous, breathtaking game. The open world setting works perfectly for this. The story is riveting and takes a lot of twists and turns I didn't expect. The reveals of what some elements are and who some characters are and all of that are expertly done. And I just have such gratitude and appreciation that this game exists. I cannot wait for the sequel. Every element of this game is insanely well done. At this point in the list, there aren't going to be many reasons why something is lower than something else outside of my personal preference. These are not that every game in this list is a 10 or that all these games would rank higher critically than some of the other ones. This game is freaking phenomenal. I recommend it to everyone who has a PlayStation. It's one of my like 5 games that I say, have you played this? Have you played this? Have you played this? And Horizon is a must play in my opinion. Number 33, Fallout New Vegas. This is the perfect example to me actually of the critical thing. I think critically, Horizon Zero Dawn might actually be a better game than Fallout New Vegas, but for me personally, as someone who absolutely adores the Fallout franchise, who I often say and have said multiple times in this video series that Fallout 3 is one of my favorite games of all time, Fallout New Vegas is a very close second for me to Fallout 3, and that's why it landed at this spot on the list. It is another wonderful open world. I don't consider myself like an avid open world guy. I like open world games, but I definitely like to mix them up with other types of games. But this is an open world done really well. Vegas in particular is a really interesting setting because there are so many different like biomes, I guess, in Vegas. Specifically, like I just remember the desert being such a huge part of this. And also there are some just really insanely cool settings. So if you've never played a Fallout game, they are post-apocalyptic open world games. They're by Bethesda, so they're that sort of choice-heavy RPG, a lot of quest lines, a lot of side missions, that sort of thing. You know, Bethesda's bread and butter here. But this one actually was not by Bethesda. This was by Obsidian. Fallout as a series is by Bethesda now. But this was developed by Obsidian, and you can tell that they just knew how to do that formula so well. Some of the characters are super interesting. I love the robot characters. It's been literal years since I've played this game. I had played it at launch. But like the robot guys that are like sheriffs and weird little, oh, they're so cool. There's so many cool reveals in that game. Matthew Perry's in it. Just gonna move on because he's not really notable. He's just in it for some reason. I guess Liam Neeson was in 3, so they feel like they had to get somebody for New Vegas. But yeah, all the positives New Vegas. Very few moments in games make me feel cooler playing it than wandering the wasteland in a Fallout game, listening to the old music that they play, which is part of, I guess, part of where my love for like old jazz comes from now. And just like, you know, killing a couple bloat flies and doing a side quest here and there and getting better armor and going back and forth to like your hub city and selling stuff. And there's just something so wildly comforting about it. I probably ranked Fallout 4 on this list. I doubt many people, when I said when I put Fallout 4 on this list that I thought, you know, for a lot of people it might be surprising. I just love Fallout so much as a franchise. Fallout New Vegas was part of that, me realizing that I didn't just love Fallout 3, but I loved the Fallout universe as a whole, or the Fallout franchise as a whole. And for that, I am super thankful. Number 32, Her Story. So we actually have the other Sam Barlow game. This one's probably going to be pretty short because I already kind of talked through the gameplay mechanic with Telling Lies. This is a very similar gameplay approach. You are a cop in this one, looking through interrogation videos of this woman. And your only goal is to deduce what's happened and find out exactly what is happening. This is far more the sort of murder mystery, true crime aspect of it. Telling Lies is a little bit more interpersonal and relationship heavy. It was really hard for me to rank those against each other because they are so similar, because they're made by the same person or team. I put Her Story just a little bit ahead because I think Her Story, while less ambitious than Telling Lies and definitely shorter than Telling Lies, it maintains a pace at such a high rate that it's just, it's almost like it's trimmed all of its fat a little bit more for me. I mean, again, these are both beloved games, top 40 games in 10 years, right? Like, I love both of these games to death, but when I was comparing these two, Her Story is just a little bit easier to follow, I believe, and I think the payoff is a little bit stronger. You know, with something as long as Telling Lies, even if the payoff is great, you've invested a little bit more time, where Her Story is almost like a movie and you have this one huge payoff that's incredible and then you move from there. And Her Story is like a movie in the way you experience it. It is, you know, you're watching clips, and Viva Cypher, the actor who plays the character being interrogated, is insanely good in this. Just playing up the doubt you have, her innocence, is she guilty? What did she do? Why are we learning about this? Why are these clips so long? What is she talking about? Like, so many questions are dutifully answered in this game, and it's just a joy to think about because I love this game so much. I think anybody who's into true crime, this is the first game that I recommend to them because I think it's just the best. Like, I would love to see my mom play this game, right? Like, this is an analogous game for me to true crime stories. And if you like true crime, this is one of the best games I can recommend to you. It's so, so good. The gameplay, like I mentioned in Telling Lies earlier, if you fast forwarded to get to this part, go back and watch that because that goes into depth with what the gameplay is. It's just so interesting and unique, and I would play 1,000 games written like this, and I hope that Sam Barlow keeps making more games like this because he's made 2 of them so far that I've played, and they're both in my top 40 games of the decade from last decade. So really hope we get more of those, and I just adore this game. Number 31, The Walking Dead Season 1. So this is Telltale's Walking Dead. This is not to be confused with Walking Dead Survival Instinct or whatever that shooter was called. This was the Telltale game that also came out. This is a game earlier, a lot of like resolution of hints I dropped earlier. This is the game that came out the same year as Journey, and these were sort of the 2 games going back and forth for what is the game of the year for most media outlets. I slightly prefer Walking Dead Season 1, only because some of the characters in it are still some of the most attached I've ever been to characters in video games. Sure, it has a little bit of jank, which has been smoothed out from what I know now, but Telltale engines do have a bit of a reputation for being a little janky. But the story is so well written, and the characters are so well balanced as like, do you like them? Do you not? Do you want to save the guy you hate? Do you want to have to kill the person you love. I don't know if that's an actual storyline, but you know, it's that sort of thing, right? Who do you want to choose in this option? Those decisions are so meaningful. I think in your first Telltale game, those decisions just feel more impactful because you don't know to expect them coming in. You may know, oh, your choices influence the narrative, because I think they tell you that in like the, hey, by the way, your choices influence the narrative screen. You may know that coming in, but you don't really have a measurement for how much these things are going to impact you and impact your playthrough. I will always refer to Greg Miller, who is one of the reasons that I'm streaming at all or doing this YouTube thing at all, is a huge inspiration to me. Way back then in 2012, he described The Walking Dead, which I believe he reviewed it officially for IGN. When he did that review, and subsequently when he talked about it on podcasts and videos and stuff, he described it as this, and I'm going to credit Greg here for the best metaphor in the video. The Walking Dead Season 1 and all Telltale games really are like coloring books. We all have the same lines, but how you color in the pages are different. And I think that's a beautiful metaphor for how impactful this game is. A lot of us, especially in Season 1, they kind of open this up a little bit more in Season 2 and 3. We all experience some of the same moments, or at least different sides of the same coin, but our playthrough, like other narrative games that have come since, is unique to us, and that's such an awesome feeling. Also, Clementine is one of the most, like, I have to protect you characters I've ever seen. She's so easy to love. Maybe it's because I'm an older brother to a little sister, but like, I wanted to protect her with all of my might, and just her story and some of the narrative turns that takes, and just seeing her develop, and you almost have this like pseudo father role with her. And Clementine is one of my favorite characters ever in games, and that deserves to be said as well. Just a beautifully written game. And if Telltale's not your thing, I get it, but I think it could even be worth looking past for what I think is Telltale's best game to date. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I know this one's a little bit longer, like I said in the beginning. I'm sorry about that, but I would just expect that moving forward, because I'm going to be gushing more and more about these games. These are games that I really love now, and you know, I love all the games on this list. Like I said, when I originally made the list of 170 or 180 something games, that I had to whittle it down, and that was hard. It was like choosing your children. But now especially, we're really getting to the games that I just think are, and I'm sure you can tell me talking about it, are just gush worthy and just absolutely wonderful. So expect the videos to be a little bit longer. I understand if that's not everyone's pace, but I just don't know if I can stop myself from talking so much about these games that I absolutely love. Thank you so much to the patrons over at patreon.com/stormstreams for supporting this video. Patrons, I love you. Thank you for everything. If you want to join them, patreon.com/stormstreams. If you like the video, make sure to give it a like and hit subscribe. The likes really do help. I know it's like every YouTube video is like, smash that like button, but seriously, they do help other people see the content. So if you liked it, maybe you can share it with a friend, or maybe even drop a like and sort of help the search algorithm find the video. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Your time is your most valuable thing, and thanks for sharing a little bit of that with me. And yeah, take care of the dorm while I'm gone, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.